Welcome back. So if you own or run a company, you should consider giving your employees the day off to go and do good. Employee volunteering is not only good for society, but research has now found that it's brilliant for business. Well, the Charities Aid Foundation, or CAF, advises companies on corporate social investment and also programs that involve employees themselves. To discuss now, we're joined by the CEO of CAF Southern Africa, Colleen du Toit, and from Hollard, we're joined by the head of Group Corporate and Social Capital, Gail Walters. Welcome to you, Colleen and Gail. Colleen, let me start with you. So we know about corporate social investment, where corporates give back. It's not about making profits, it's about ploughing a little bit back into their communities. Now we have this new word, employee corporate involvement, ECI. Is that the same thing, an evolution, or just another buzzword?
Well, we try to work with our corporate clients around making it an evolution. So it's become very much more popular here in South Africa over the last 2 or 3 years, and it's about connecting the company in different ways into the community, and at the same time, in the ideal sense, aligning with business. Okay, so if I am a CEO, why should I give people time off work? You say it's good for business, but tell me how. Well, we don't have much local research on that yet, but there's quite a lot of international research that shows that employee volunteering actually impacts the bottom line. We are getting some new research coming in from First Rand, actually, which we hope will start to convince the CEOs about that. But in addition to that, the things that are more obvious are that when somebody's volunteered, for example, just 67 minutes on Mandela Day, it very often becomes part of them, part of who they are, and it starts to filter into the company culture. So people become more motivated. There's studies being done on employee retention and on employee wellness as well. So the more motivated you are, we know, the more productive you are. Gail, let's look at the Hollard example, because there are lots of different ways to involve workers. Yes. One is through actual payrolls. Tell me how it works.
Well, we have a number of volunteering opportunities as part of our employee volunteering program, and one of them is payroll giving, and CAF actually administer our program for us. So it's a way for employees to volunteer and to give back if they don't really have time during the day to go and visit a project, or if there's a volunteering opportunity that doesn't really appeal to them. And we've had our program in place since 2008. We have 19 organizations that employees can contribute to, and they range across from animal organizations to mental disability, to the aged, to ECDs, to schools, to cancer,
so they can
to that
pick
kind of thing.
Their course.
Yes.
And I see around 10%. Is that correct? That sounds very high.
Well, the international benchmark is quite a lot lower, but at Hollard we do exceed that. We've gone through a period of consolidation, so the number is a bit fluid, but yes, and over the last 6 years, our employees themselves have contributed about 1.37 million out of their own money to these organizations.
And you don't have to give a lot. What's the average, do you know?
Well, it's anonymous. The giving is anonymous, so the pledges are anonymous. The average, I think, Hollard total of all of our volunteers who contribute through payroll giving is about 24,000 Rand a month. And so it can range from anything as little as 50 Rand a month to 1,500 or 2,000, depending on what the particular employee wants to contribute.
All right. Who should lead this, Colleen? The company, the leaders, or should workers get together themselves and come up with ideas? How does it often work when it works well?
Well, when it works well, it should come from the top.
Yes. That's always the case, isn't it?
Absolutely, and particularly with anything to do with the social, I think, because it takes quite a lot of work to get people involved in this kind of thing, and if the leader is being the role model, it really works much better. I am very interested to be watching the CEOs who've recently taken part in the CEO's Sleep Out. It was fantastic that they did that for one night.
Good job.
I want to see what's going to be happening in their companies in the next few months. Are they going to be taking that passion and that experience into their companies and filtering it through to their social responsibility programs?
The problem is there's so many causes, and CEOs are always being asked to spread the funds around. Let's keep with a specific example. Yes. Were Hollard leaders at the forefront? Have you noticed a difference if they speak out about it?
Yes, for sure. I mean, it has to come from the top. Otherwise, you know, it has to be woven into the DNA of the company, which is what we've done. So we really encourage our staff to volunteer. And in fact, we're very fortunate because our shareholders have a long-term vision of inclusive and sustainable growth for our business. And after all, business can't exist without customers. And so we have to make sure that the markets of the future are sustainable. And business is an important social actor. It's an agent for social change as well. It has funds at its disposal, it has networks, it has influence, it has ways of bringing people into the economy, and that's part of our vision for the future.
The problem has been, and let me come to you, cynics would say a lot of the CSI that corporates have engaged in has been, you know, how do we spend the least amount of money and hit the headlines and look good, but that's not always choosing the best things for society. We know there was a pullback after the financial crisis. What is the state of corporate giving in your view in South Africa?
Well, South Africa is one of the few countries in the world where corporate giving is actually legislated. So at least in the listed companies, in terms of the Black Economic Empowerment Scorecard, big companies are required to give. And that's a bit of a double-edged sword in terms of civil society organizations that are supported that way. But I would say that we are doing well, and we are also starting to do well in terms of employee volunteering, particularly when it's aligned with the CSI and with the overall business. And very
helps enforce the culture, like you said.
Yes, and very importantly, when it is consulted with the community partners. That is an absolutely critical part of effective employee volunteering.
Well, you're right. I remember doing some house building, and a lot of us went, but I don't think we were that effective, actually. It was more something to pat ourselves on the back about. I don't think we were that effective. So I'll give you the final word. How do we make this count?
Well, it has to be sustainable, and it has to be also something that the community wants to do. So it's not business actually deciding what the community needs. Business has to actually consult with the role players in the community to work out what they require for sustainability, and then to work out a budget, an implementation plan, and to involve other stakeholders in the project. So for example, in our ECD program, we have a very successful ECD program that we honed over a few years. We're working with other stakeholders in the municipal areas concerned, like the municipality, which is probably the most important stakeholder, and civil organizations.
So a community quite close to
yes.
the company.
So it's a collaborative approach.
Nice, and we have to leave it there, but I hope the good work continues. Thank you very much. That was Colleen du Toit from CAF and Gail Walters from Hollard.